The Pittsburgh Steelers over the last few days have released a total of 19 players from the team, and by tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, the Steelers have to cut at least 20 more players from their roster to get down to the mandatory 53-man roster. Also, just in case if you haven't heard, the Pittsburgh Steelers also traded guard Kevin Dotson to the LA Rams. I'm going to give you the full details of that trade as well. But first, let me just go through the players that released today. So, among the players that released today, Monday, were offensive lineman LaRaven Clark, offensive lineman William Dunkel, safety Jalen Elliott, running back Darius Higgins, cornerback Lavert Hill, defensive lineman Manny Jones, quarterback Tanner Morgan, linebacker Tanner Moose, linebacker Tony Dubuque, and safety Kenny Robinson. So, the Steelers, like I said, those were only 10 players that they released today, but the other players, the other 9 that they released, came the other day. So let me just go through the players that they released the other day as well. So, on Saturday and Sunday, they released more players as well. On Saturday, they released wide receiver Dan Shurinsma, defensive back Neville Clark, linebacker Kwani Dang, cornerback Mondre Harper, defensive lineman James Namawe, kicker BT Porter, linebacker Forrest Ryan, and long snapper Rex Sanahara. So that's who they released on Saturday. But on Sunday, they released one more player. They released wide receiver Aaron Crushank. So that's a total of 19 players the Steelers have released in the past 3 days. And now I'll just give you my thoughts on each player, but the main players who I believe actually had a chance to make the roster and some of the surprising cuts. So, if you remember, going back to my 53-man roster prediction, I put Tanner Moose, linebacker, making the roster. And I thought he would make it because he brought something different to the Pittsburgh Steelers linebackers. He's more of a very athletic guy. He could even play safety if needed because he even transferred from safety to linebacker. He's really good on special teams. So I thought he could slide his way and make it onto the main roster. But now he was officially waived today, meaning that he will pave way for maybe him making the practice squad or him not making the team altogether. So that's a very surprising cut. And now that he got cut, I really don't see a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers would carry more than 4 linebackers on the roster unless they go out and sign an outside guy. Because everyone they have on the roster right now kind of plays with the same play style. The only other person who plays with a different play style is Quan Alexander, but the other running backs the other inside linebackers on the roster kind of play with the same play style and kind of do the same things. They're athletic, and their main thing is just stopping the run. So I don't see why the Steelers would keep a 5th inside linebacker on the roster. Now they cut Tanner Moose. They could use that for a different position that they have more depth in and don't want to cut someone in a different position. Now they have an extra roster spot for that. But Tanner Moose, I had him making the 53-man roster, but he officially got waived. Another person who's kind of a surprise, but not really, is Kenny Robinson. Because throughout all of training camp, throughout the preseason, he even started the very first preseason game. So he's been getting a lot of reps at first team safety, especially when Minkah Fitzpatrick, Keanu Neal, DeMonte KZ, all those guys were injured on the team. So the person who was getting the first team reps when all those guys were out were Kenny Robinson. But the Steelers officially waived him today, meaning that even though he had a lot of reps at first team, he's still not going to be on the roster. Once again, he may have a chance to make the practice squad because the Steelers obviously carry a certain amount of players at each position on the practice squad. So he still has a chance there, but he's officially waived. And that's a little bit of a shocker, but not as much as Tanner Moose. Another person who you see got cut was Tanner Morgan. It was evident that he was going to get cut because the Steelers usually carry 3 quarterbacks, and the Steelers weren't going to cut Kenny Pickett, weren't going to cut Mitchell Trubisky, weren't going to cut Mason Rudolph. Tanner Morgan, he more than likely will end up on the practice squad, but he got cut as the 4th quarterback not to make the roster. Another person and last person I'm going to talk about who I believe should make the practice squad, and I really like how he plays because he is athletic, he's fast, could do multiple things for an offense and just be versatile both in the kick return, punt return, and just wide receiver game in total. He even had a touchdown that was out of bounds, but he made a really good catch down the left sideline. Crushank at wide receiver, I believe he should make the practice squad, and if someone gets injured or someone goes down, that he could be a replacement throughout the season and get risen to the main team. So I believe he should have a roster spot on the practice squad. It was kind of evident that he was going to get released from the team because he was only with the team for like less than a week and only played in one preseason game. So they haven't seen much for him compared to other guys. So it was kind of obvious that he was going to get cut. But I do believe he could be an X factor on the practice squad and be one of the main guys on that practice squad just in case someone gets injured. So Crushank, he's also been released from the team after just signing earlier in the week. But all in all, that's the 19 players that the Pittsburgh Steelers have released from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And there's going to be more. There's going to be more people being released and some shockers out there. And also, the Steelers are bound to sign someone who gets cut from another team as well. So just know whenever they release more players or they sign more players to the roster, I'm going to be covering it all. But now, let's just move over to the trade of Kevin Dotson. Because Kevin Dotson got traded late yesterday night. He more than likely, I thought he was going to make the team because obviously he was a starter for the last few years for the Steelers, but obviously the Steelers signed Isaac Seumalo this offseason, and they probably thought that there was no room for him on the roster and may wanted to keep another guy like Spencer Anderson or different offensive linemen or just another position on the team in general, so they may have cut him. So they were able to get some value back in the Kevin Dotson trade when they traded to the LA Rams last night. And just to give you the full details of the trade, this is what the details are. The LA Rams get guard Kevin Dotson, a 5th round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, and a 6th round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. That goes to LA Rams, but the Steelers get back in return a 4th round pick in 2024 and a 5th round pick in 2025. So essentially, the Steelers are moving up 1 round and giving back a later round to the Rams in each of the next 2 drafts. They get back a 5th and they get back a 4th, and the Steelers, they give away a 5th and give away a 6th. So that means that they move back around in each of the next 2 drafts and move up around. That's the full details of the Kevin Dotson trade. More than likely, he probably wasn't going to get cut, so at least the Steelers were able to get some value back for him. It's not a lot. He has been a starter for the last 2 years, and I remember going all the way back to the days when Matt Filer was here, and he got injured late in the season. Kevin Dotson was playing really good that season. That was his breakout year where many Steelers fans thought he could be the next great guard for the Steelers. But Mike Tomlin decided to not go with Kevin Dotson, who was on a roll, and go back to the injured Matt Filer, and that didn't work out so good. But I know many fans want to see Kevin Dotson in that game in the playoffs. But that reminds me of Kevin Dotson in his tenure with the Steelers. Whenever I think of Kevin Dotson, I think back to that situation where he was really having a really good year. But over the last few years, he just has not been the same. He's dealing with major ankle injuries, and it seems like all the penalties on the Steelers' offensive line came from that left side with him and Dan Moore, from holding calls, false start, illegal man downfields, or just bad sacks in general being allowed. It just felt like it was all coming from the left side of the offensive line. So the Steelers have to go out and address it this offseason, and they did with Isaac Seumalo. But all in all, Kevin Dotson, he's been traded to the Los Angeles Rams, and the Steelers at least got some value back for him for a guy who more than likely would have been cut. And LA Rams got him because they really needed depth on the offense line and depth on the guard spot, and now they get that in Kevin Dotson. They get a guy who has a lot of experience in this league, who has started many games in the NFL, and that's who they get, Kevin Dotson, to the Rams. And Steelers get back draft compensation. But with that being said, that's the full details of the trade, and that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on the Pittsburgh Steelers releasing these 19 players from their roster and also trading guard Kevin Dotson to the Los Angeles Rams last night. Do you like the cuts that they made? Is there any surprise cuts that you saw? Do you like the trade the Pittsburgh Steelers got back? Do you like the draft compensation they got back? Or do you believe they could have got more? Or that was a big trade? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, reports. like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video on this channel, and you get notified right away and you can watch it. If you want to stay up to date with everything Steelers news, rumors, reports, highlights, everything like that, as we move on to the regular season, I covered the whole off season, and now as the regular season is about to start, I'm going to cover that all as well. So, like, comment, subscribe. This is the best spot for Pittsburgh Steelers news, and I'll tell you. And with that being said, I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.